Do you want to learn how to trade one of the easiest markets? Or maybe you already know the secret and you're trading euro. Lower volatility of euro means lower risk. It also has a tendency to sit within trend channels. I'll be covering Elliott Wave counts for this market in depth, with support from classic technical analysis in the upcoming FX Traders Edge event on Tuesday, February 13th. If you want to make money in markets, then you do not want to miss this presentation. You have to register to view it, and if you can't be there at 11 AM, you'll get a link to view it later. If you're registered, you'll also receive a link to access special offers from each presenter, and the offer I'm going to be giving is something for free that's really valuable, so don't miss it. Hello everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. They're all moving higher today, and Bitcoin's got an increase in range and push from volume. It looks like it might be able to close above resistance, about 48,000. If that's the case, then that resistance will turn to support. If it does close above 48,000, then look out for a backtest of support before it moves up and away. And the target from the little head and shoulders pattern is 49362. If that target is wrong, it's not going to be high enough. It looks like Bitcoin is starting to accelerate with upward movement. I would expect further acceleration and then an explosion at the end of this little upward wave before the next consolidation or pullback. Price normally doesn't move in a straight line, but when this market has a strong bullish run, the middle and the end of its bullish runs can move in a straight line for several days, and they can end with vertical upward movement. Once price makes a new short-term high above the 11th of January high, just above 49,000, expect some energy to be released to the upside. We might get close to new all-time highs in this bullish run, I expect. We might see another pullback though before it breaks out to new all-time highs. Let's see how this one unfolds. But for the short term, I'm very bullish for Bitcoin. Volume is pushing price higher. That is excellent to see. A couple of days ago, I told you we had this strong bullish signal from on-balance volume. That is now being followed through with some strong upward movement. So these signals, using on-balance volume with support and resistance in this way, have proven to be really useful to us. ADX is now positively sloped, but it's below 15, so it's too low to indicate a trend. But if upward movement continues over the weekend and ADX reaches 15 and has a positive slope, that will be the strongest bullish signal ADX can give. So I will be watching this one very carefully over the next few days. RSI is still neutral. If there is an upward trend, and it looks very likely that there is, it is a long way to go from getting very extreme. Money flow is also neutral, a long way to go before this gets very extreme. If there is a new upward trend, it's in a very, very early stage. There's such a long way to go before ADX, RSI and money flow all together indicate that it may be in danger. This is a very, very bullish look for Bitcoin. A little bit of an increase in range today. Let's see if that can be followed through in the following days. This is my only remaining Elliott Wave count for Ethereum. It is bullish. It sees Ethereum in the very early stages of a third wave at minuet, minute, and minor degrees, and for the larger picture, this sits within a third wave at intermediate, within primary, within cycle degrees. So a third wave at 6 degrees, 3 of them very large. This is an extremely bullish wave count for Ethereum. My ballpark figures, I don't like to call them targets, if they are wrong, they are not going to be high enough. Once Ethereum makes a new short-term high above the end of minuet 1 at 2717.2, then I will move the invalidation point up to the low of minuet wave 2. I'm not prepared to do that until the core Elliott Wave rule stating minuet 3 must move beyond the end of minuet 1 has been met. At the daily time frame, Ethereum has now support about 2,400, tested for resistance, pullback, breakthrough, really brief little almost test of support yesterday, and now moving up and away. Look for next resistance about 3,580. Before it gets there though, I think 2,700, we're probably going to see some resistance about there. So I'll add that onto the chart. Look for first resistance about 2,700. Volume is pushing price higher today for Ethereum as well. That is very good to see. Ethereum doesn't have a good range for its on-balance volume though. A break above the yellow resistance line would be a weak bullish signal. ADX is giving us the strongest signal it can give for Ethereum. It has risen up from below 15, relatively low levels, has a positive slope, and today is above 15. The positive DX line is above the negative. This tells us there is an upward trend in the earliest stage. This is an extremely bullish look. There is a very, very long way to go before ADX reaches very extreme danger territory. RSI is neutral. There is a very long way to go before this reaches as deeply overbought as it can get and before it exhibits any bearish divergence. This is a very, very bullish look for ADX and RSI. Money flow is also neutral with this one as well. I add this one to my use of RSI because money flow has a volume component to its calculation that deepens the analysis of RSI, and there is a long, long way to go before this one reaches as extreme as it can get. ATR is still overall declining. We don't have an increase in volatility yet for Ethereum. If this is the very early stage of the next bullish run, I wouldn't expect to see an increase in ATR at the start. I would expect to see toward the middle it will start to show an increase, and at the end I will expect it to absolutely explode. Still the 3 wave counts for XRP. This first wave count may actually have the lowest probability. It expects a deeper pullback to continue. For a zigzag for intermediate wave 2, A, B, C must be a 5-wave motive structure. The middle of a 3rd wave needs to pass, and then all these little 4th wave corrections, consolidations or bounces along the way down need to unfold toward the end of the target. For minus C to move below the end of A at 0.4456 to avoid a truncation. A lot of work to do to the downside for this Elliott Wave count. I will discard it, or I might discard it sooner, but it'll be invalidated with a new high above 0.6236. But let's have a go at pulling a channel around minor wave C. If this channel is breached by upward movement, and my definition of a breach is a full green candlestick above and not touching the upper edge, if that happens, then I'll probably discard this wave count prior to invalidation. This is the 2nd wave count, has a low probability. It needs minus C to complete as an ending contracting diagonal, but that would require a huge overshoot of the 1-3 trend line in order for C to move below the end of A at 0.4456 to avoid a truncation. That would have a weird look for the ending diagonal. They do tend to have the 5th wave ending with a little overshoot of the 1-3 trend line, but not a huge overshoot like this. Now, it's possible. I have seen diagonals that look like that, but it's really unusual. So that reduces the probability of this wave count. I think this is the most likely looking wave count. Intermediate 2 complete here, intermediate 3 in its early days with minor 1 and now minor 2 complete. If we get a new high above 0.6236, this will probably be my only wave count. XRP today is moving higher, but it doesn't have push from volume and it doesn't have an increase in range. It is lagging behind the other two. Sometimes it might do that, so this isn't a deal breaker. If these lows are going to be long-term sustained lows, I would expect to start to see an increase in momentum and range next week, maybe toward the end of next week, and definitely into the following week. I'll be looking for some resistance about the 54 to 55 cent mark first though, and then resistance along the way up at identified levels for pullbacks and consolidations along the way up. A little bit of a decline in volume for the current session. On balance volume though gave us a bullish signal for XRP. We're now seeing some follow through with upward movement. So again, this signal from on balance volume works really well. And this line has a relatively shallow slope. It's got 5 tests, so that's a good number, and it's somewhat long held at this time frame. So this is a reasonable bullish signal. And now we're getting some follow through from price. So that is excellent to see. I love using on balance volume like this. It is often a leading indicator. And if you can find anything that's a leading indicator, that's a really good thing to use, because almost all systems, techniques and indicators and oscillators are lagging because they are based on averages of past data. On balance volume, the calculation of it is lagging, but when you use it with resistance and support, it can be a leading indicator. ADX is still declining. There's a long way to go before this will indicate a trend change. At this stage, it indicates there was no clear trend after the previous downward trend reached extreme, and RSI got really close to oversold. RSI is neutral and money flow is neutral. It got somewhat close to oversold. That's it from me today with your analysis for these three for the week, and I will see you next week. And don't forget to register for that event on Tuesday. I'll be giving you a really in-depth coverage of the euro-dollar, Elliott Wave and technical analysis, but I'm going to start by looking at some really important differences between forex markets indices, commodities, and cryptocurrencies, and why that difference is very important to understand when you are analysing Forex markets using Elliott Wave. It's a really key feature that I only just figured out in the last year or two. So this is relatively new to me as well. So I'm going to be giving that information and knowledge to you on Tuesday. So don't miss it. And I'll have a really good offer. I'm going to be offering something to you for free if you attend that event. So don't miss that.